it took a while. It definitely didn't happen overnight. Like after that night in 2013, I didn't get my big win until 2016, and even then I was done. Like a few months, I got my first big win in Colorado, in Denver, and that was at the Feast World Series in Denver in 2016, and that was like literally, if you asked me a month ago, I was like, nah, I'm done. So because a few months before, or a couple months before, I was in Utah for Nitro World Games, and that was the first ever Nitro World Games I ever had, and that had BMX triple hit, which is like, you know, you go down and roll in and 3 big jumps and that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I qualified first, and it was like $30,000 prize money, and I had no sponsors. I was running for Fox at the time, but you know, no one was paying me, and I was there on my own dime, and like no one helped me. I was just like make or break, you know.
Yeah.
And I qualified first, and all this pressure on me, live TV, everything. Like I think there was like 35,000 people in the crowd. It was like insane. I never experienced anything like that before. Obviously choked and got last place, and that was kind of like one of the lowest parts where I've been at with my career, is being like the years leading up to that was just like I've never won a contest. It was just lose, or not make finals, come last. And I was just like, I remember telling Lucas, I was just like, look man, I'm done. Like I just didn't want to do this anymore. Like I'm sick of losing, you know. And like losing didn't make me want to win. It just made me want to give up. Not because of like being like, oh, like a sook or whatever. I was just like, look man, like I'm put everything I can into this sport, and it's not like I wanted anything out of it, but I wanted my hard work to pay off, because I was working so hard and not getting anything out of it, and that kind of like sunk me a little bit, you know. And then I went back home, built a new bike, and got made to do this like finished air show. I did it with Logan, Thomas Pages, and Sheeny, and Clinton Moore and stuff in France, somewhere in fucking nowhere in France. Went out there, and then the part of the deal was if I went there, I had to go to Feast with Logan, and I was like, nah, just do the show and come back to Australia, you know, because I lived in Australia at the time. And Lucas was like, no, you're going to this fucking contest, just go to the fucking contest, have fun, who gives a fuck about the result, go there and have fun. And I never heard him say that before, because he's an agent, he wants you to win, you know.
Yeah.
He was just like, go there, have fun, see what happens, and ended up fucking winning. And I was just like, couldn't fucking believe it, absolutely couldn't believe it. And I remember that phone call right after like I won the contest. He was just like, you fucking made it, you fucking did it. And he was so proud of me, and that was the first time in my life where I felt like all the suffering's kind of like done now. This is what I need to do, is this. And I'm glad I never gave up, and that was like, that just proved to me like, if you don't give up, this is what you can achieve. Well,
what changed? Like, why did you go from like losing to winning? Like, why did you win that contest?
I literally don't know. Like, you know, Nitro World Games was 6 weeks before, and I was I don't know, maybe it would have been the new bike. I don't know. I had a different bike, but besides that, dude, like I literally have no idea. Like I took like the first 2 weeks off riding when I first got back from Utah.
Yeah.
And because I just didn't want to ride. I hated riding. Like, didn't want to do anything. I was like working with a friend's dad at the time, and I was just like, oh, this is what I want to do. Just be a, you know, want to be tradie or whatever, you know, just following that Australian lifestyle. And I'm so glad that I had, you know, a few good people around me to dig me out of that hole and just be like, no, literally push me on the plane to go. And then I won. And ever since then, I've just been like, nope, I'm doing this. I'm never giving up.
That's fucking crazy that you can go from... Do you think that the Nitro like qualifying first gave you a bit of a sniff of that you could do it, or like, because it just sounds like this was kind of in your head the whole time?
It was definitely a bigger deal. I made it a bigger deal for myself than originally planned. Like, I was just like, I obviously wanted to win, but it was crazy. I've never met anyone that wanted to win without working to win. And that was me. I was the kid that was like, yep, I'm gonna win. But I'm like, how are you gonna win? I'm just gonna win. And obviously I had, you know, it's like we were saying about James Stewart today, like if no one has the cards to beat him, no one's gonna beat him. I just didn't have any cards. and I had to win. You have to practice. Doesn't matter what you do. Like in moto with, BMX freestyle, anything, right? Anything. If you don't practice, you're not going to get anywhere. And for me, I didn't really ride that well for those years leading up. I didn't start riding well until maybe 2017 when I first moved to America, like not full time. I went there for 6 months, and that was the longest time I've ever been away from Australia at that time until I moved to America. But dude, it's just been, ever since then, it's just been, half-assing BMX until this point, and then to win a world cup stop.
Yeah.
Half-assing my riding, I was just like, fuck, what could I do if I actually
Why were you
dubbed in?
half-assing it?
Living in Australia, having the wrong people around me, not riding the stuff I needed to ride to get better.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I wanted to be, I obviously wanted to be who I am today.
Yeah.
I just didn't make the right sacrifices to become it, because obviously.
But did you know what you had to do, or you sort of didn't even know what you had to do?
It's almost like I wanted to be me, but deep down inside I didn't.
Yeah.
Like I just wouldn't work for it. I would just be like, wait for it to show up.
Were you scared of like not getting it if you tried as hard as you could?
In the end, I did. I think that's what happened. That was what drew the last straw, was being scared of what if. I feel like that was when I really just was like, I would literally rather die after I say what if. Like what if I did go to America? What if I put everything there is into BMX? Because I was born and raised in Sydney. I lived with my parents until I was 25, and I didn't have a real job until I got out of school. Everything like that. Like I just didn't. I was just like, yeah, I want to be a professional BMX rider.
But you were just cruising.
But I was just cruising.
Yeah.
And then I remember I got invited to X Games and then won a few more fee stops, and I was just like still that same dude, like just coming back and forth from Sydney and worrying about getting good in America, having to go back to Australia and dumb down my riding, and then having to start from scratch again in America.
So what's the difference between the riding in Australia and America then?
It's a huge difference. Like
Really?
The skate parks are just insanely different.
Oh, so it's more of like you just don't have the track to practice on, essentially.
Yeah. Well, in Sydney, at this time I had Monster Skate Park, but that it's crazy when the longest I've ever spent in America was 2 months. But then I was just like, all right, I'm going to pull a plug. I'm going to go for 6 months. And I stayed from April until, I think, October. And the day I got on the flight to fly to America, skate park burned down.
Wow.
Yeah.
The one in Sydney?
The one in Sydney.
So you were like, fuck, I got nowhere to ride at all anyway.
Yeah. And so I just stayed in America for as long as I can, and ended up getting invited to my first X Games and won feast in Budapest. And